What's up, everybody? My name is John Allen. I was a Navy SEAL for a little while, and then I got out and became a scary storyteller on the internet under the name Mr. Ballin. I'm 31. I've been married to my wife, Amanda, for almost 10 years. We met in college, and we have 2 daughters, and we're about to have our son literally next week. So, fingers crossed that goes well. A couple of weeks ago, I put a story out on my Instagram that just asked, hey, if you have any questions for me, I'm going to do a Q&A on my YouTube channel. And I was just floored by the number of questions people had for me. It was incredibly flattering, so thank you. I kind of did the easy button and generalized questions that were being asked more than once and created a list of questions that I'm going to go through on this video today. Before we get started, if you're a fan of the strange, dark, and mysterious delivered in story format, then you've come to the right place, because that's all I do, and I upload 3, 4, even 5 times every week. So if that's of interest to you, please push the like button into the Grand Canyon, and also subscribe to my channel and turn on all post notifications so you don't miss any of my weekly uploads. All right, let's get going. First question, where did I grow up? So I grew up in Quincy, Massachusetts. It's a town just south of Boston, about 10 minutes south, about 100,000 people that live there. It's a fierce New England sports town. Red Sox, Bruins, Patriots, Celtics. Somebody asked me about my famous while we're young mother story. When I was in high school in Quincy, I had a homeroom period in my schedule, basically a free time period, where I was in the same room as one of my older sister's really close friends. And I just naturally sat next to her. There was nothing going on between us. I knew her because she's friends with my sister. And apparently her boyfriend really took exception to that. He thought that I was like getting on her and trying to take her away from him. And I wasn't. I didn't even know this was going on. But either way, apparently it got out that I was like, hitting on his girlfriend. And so I was challenged to a fight. So Quincy it's interesting because when I was growing up, street fighting was like a really big part of the culture. It was like a time-honored tradition that at some point you're probably gonna get into a fist fight with somebody and you gotta like defend your honor, that's just how it was. And the people I hung out with, my circle of friends, they were these guys are tough, okay? Everybody knew these guys were tough in Quincy. I wasn't tough. I was around the tough guy. I wasn't a tough guy. And but I thought of myself as being very tough. And so when it came up that Paul wanted to fight me, I'm like I'm gonna beat the shit out of this guy. And I was like so confident. Never been in a fight. I've been around other people fighting, but not my own. And so the fight was scheduled for the day before Thanksgiving. This is my sophomore year of high school, and Paul was a junior. I remember on the day of the fight, I'm in the halls of my high school, and Paul was like this big-time hockey player, and he's like the captain of the team, whatever. And I was talking so much crap about Paul, people started to kind of buy into the hype that I was like the secret tough guy, especially because the people I was around. And like all day in the halls, I'm like talking so much crap about Paul, and people would come up to me and be like, hey man, you gotta take it easy on Paul, dude. Like, he's a good guy. Don't hurt him. We need him. We need him for the hockey season, okay? Please don't hurt him. I'm like, yeah, I'll try not to hurt him. So we get up to this field, and I show up with this huge posse, 50 people that show up with me, and I'm like, shadow boxing. I'm such an idiot. I'm like so cocky. We get up there, and Paul's not there yet, and I'm like, this guy's pathetic. He's afraid of me. He's not even gonna make it here. And so like half an hour goes by, and I'm getting even more confident. Like, yeah, he's just scared of me. And then, of course, Paul shows up with no posse. He shows up with one guy, calm as can be. And he gets out and walks up this hill to where I am. I'm like, at the top of this hill, getting ready. And I have this line where he's getting closer and closer to me. And he's late, remember. And as he's getting closer to me, I go, while we're young, motherfucker. Like as if I'm going to beat him up. And then he's been so late. He proceeds to beat the out of me. The absolute out of me. In front of the whole school. And everybody heard me say my big line. Like it was so outrageous that like not only did all of my peers know me for this, but even my teachers would come up to me like, hey man, how was that fight yesterday? So that was Quincy. That's Quincy in a nutshell. So the next question was, what inspired me to ultimately leave Quincy and become a Navy SEAL? Obviously to compensate for the loss to Paul, No, the truth is, I came from a family that was really, really successful. I came from a family where academic achievement was always heralded as kind of the pinnacle of success. And while I certainly had the aptitude to be a good student, I instead was busy getting my ass kicked by Paul on on the day before Thanksgiving. No, I rebelled. I didn't want to be an academic, but my way of rebelling was not to like put my energy into something else and be good at it. It was just to like be a lousy student and call that rebellion. And so by the end of high school, I had kind of so-so grades. I was a good baseball player growing up, but by the time I got to my senior year, it was like, huh. So I kind of squandered baseball because I stopped really trying at all. My grades were pretty bad, and I just realized that, I'd kind of done nothing with my life. My mom, who's a professional writer, she ended up getting me into college. She wrote my college essay, and in fact, my grades were so bad, but my essay was so good that the college reached out to me and they were like, hey, you're kind of a non-traditional candidate here because your grades are awful. But your essay was so good, you can come to our school. And so I got accepted into the University of Massachusetts, located in Amherst, Massachusetts. I get to Amherst and I promptly fail out effectively after one semester. I was spending my time not going to class, and that's pretty much it. There was a big riot on campus that I may or may not have been involved in, and there were some images of me, and so I had to withdraw from the school to avoid failing out / getting in trouble for this riot. And I remember I came back home, and I'm literally living in my mother's basement, and it really dawned on me now that like I hadn't done much at the end of high school, and my mom had hooked it up and got me into college. Now I've blown that too. I remember feeling so pathetic. What have you done here? You are a joke. So I decided that I didn't want to be a failure anymore. I wanted to do something with my life, and I figured the first step is graduating college. And so I ended up getting into another school locally in Boston, so the University of Massachusetts, Boston. It's a different campus. For 3 semesters went there. I worked at a gym in the morning at like 5 a.m., checking people into a gym, and then I would take the train in to Boston, take some classes there, and then I'd come home and stay in my mom's basement. It was a really important time in my life because it was like the first time I was holding myself accountable. I had no sympathy from my mom or my parents. They're like, you screwed it up. You can figure out college, do whatever you got to do, but you're getting your life together on your own, which was something I needed in my life for sure. It was around this time that I started thinking about the military, because a lot of my friends in high school had joined the Marine Corps and gone overseas to Iraq and to Afghanistan, and I really idolized them. And I always had a real interest in the military, and it was around this time, these formative years, where my mom, of all people, her best friend's 2 brothers were both retiring Navy SEALs. And my mom was like, well, why don't you go talk to them about the military? And I'm like, wow, that's so cool. I've like played Navy SEALs in video games. And so I went and met with them, and I was just so taken with them as people. The thing with Navy SEAL training, if you don't know anything about it, it's incredibly accessible. Anybody, for the most part, can try out, but almost no one makes it through the rigorous training. I'm generalizing, but that's kind of how it works. So in order to succeed in the training pipeline, which is very long, very difficult, you just got to be able to suck it up and suffer for a really long time. And if you make it through all that, you can become a Navy SEAL. And it's kind of like you're reborn in a way. And that's the way they were talking about becoming a SEAL. It's like whoever you were before you became a SEAL kind of goes away and you become something new. And it really spoke to me. And I was at that point in my life where I was just starting to get my life back together, taking classes and trying to graduate. And it just seemed like I had suddenly discovered the thing that was perfect for me. If I could just get through Navy SEAL training, I could be in the military, which is something I was interested in. I would be able to also kind of overwrite a lot of the bad decisions I had made and a lot of the mediocrity in my life, so that when people look back at me, it will not be the guy that could have done a bunch of things but ultimately didn't. And it would instead be, man, that John Allen, he really got his act together. And that worked for me. That was enough. But I stuck to college. I did end up graduating college. I would actually go back to the University of Massachusetts at Amherst in Western Mass. That's where I'd meet my wife, Amanda. We started dating while I was out there, and I graduated college, and then I immediately went to a recruiter, and I joined the Navy and went off to SEAL training. The training to become a SEAL, it's very, very long. Basically almost 2 years of training. 15% of people will be successful and actually become SEALs, but you got to remember that the initial pool of people that are in that statistic are highly qualified. One of the questions was, what's the hardest part of SEAL training? For me personally, was a test called pool comp. where it's about the halfway point of selection phase, which is called BUDS, or Basic Underwater Demolition SEAL Training. And there's a 20-minute test where you basically show that you can withstand an underwater emergency with your scuba tanks on. So really what happens is you go underwater and you stay there for 20 minutes while instructors come down and turn your air off and rip the hoses out of your mouth. But every time they're like assaulting you, you got to go in the fetal position and like wait for them to stop tying knots in your hoses. You might see your mouthpiece over here, but you got to go through the same procedures. Reach back, you do all these different things to regain your air source. So you end up becoming quite hypoxic, so you're very low on oxygen. And so of the 20-minute test, really you're spending about half of that without air. Really the whole point of the test is, do the procedures, but show you can keep your composure. And I was just horrible at this test. Full panic mode, like no composure. I was like the poster child of what not to do. But I ultimately, on the day that I passed, I kind of went in the pool with this reckless abandon, like, you know what? I'm just going to go in there and drown. That's my approach. And it made it pretty simple. Like, I just don't care anymore. I'm going to just go in the pool and do these stupid procedures and probably drown. And believe it or not, that was enough for me. One of the more popular questions was, what was my scariest or most difficult experience as a Navy SEAL? And so I have one that stands out above all others, and it's actually what ultimately led to me leaving the SEAL teams. And that was when I got blown up in Afghanistan in 2014. We're in this area in Afghanistan that was definitely a bad guy town. We had gone in during the day and started getting shot at. A couple of our partner force had gotten shot. Our dog got shot. It was a bad start to the day. And over the course of about 6 hours, we were kind of fighting rooftop to rooftop with these people that just kept vanishing. And by the end of the night, we were getting ready to leave this little city. We had all we, as in our SEAL team, our platoon, had broken up into little groups called fire teams, like pockets of 5-6 people out of the 25 of us that were there. And my fire team, not mine like I was in charge, I was just in this fire team. We were located on a section of the city, kind of closer to the exit of the city. And as we're getting ready to leave, one of our drones spots a group of people, not Americans, not SEALs, that are located near the exit, and our fire team was nearest them. And so we decided, our fire team, we would just go over and scout out who these people were, because we've been getting shot at all day, and we don't know where people are anymore, and we're worried that if we don't inspect this group, that they could be planning an attack on us when we try to leave, because we're getting ready to leave here. So we end up walking down this alleyway, and we're going down this like T alleyway. When we get down the stem here and reach the head of the T, if you will, we're expecting to be able to look over this wall and look out across this field and see this group of men that are hiding. But when we got down to the end of the alleyway, they weren't across the field on that wall. They were on this wall, like a foot away from us, on the immediate other side of the wall. And they hadn't heard us sneak up, and they were, enemy combatants, and they had grenades with the pins already pulled out as a defensive mechanism in case they were compromised. And in the craziest few seconds of my life, grenades are coming over the wall, there's shooting happening on both sides. The grenade actually came over and hit my shoulder and landed next to me and detonated. And I remember kind of getting up and looking around, and it's just chaos. We're in this like tight little alleyway, and there's just gunfire everywhere. And I was just expecting to either die from bleeding or have one of the bad guys come from around the wall and finish me off. I tried to stand, I couldn't stand. Somebody came over and dragged me around down that T section. I'm down here now. And so he told me to put my tourniquets on. It's a device that helps you stop bleeding. And then he went back down to help other people. I couldn't get my tourniquets off of my kit. I couldn't put them on. I was bleeding to death. And I remember thinking about my wife, and I went deaf and blind. And I remember being like, I'm going to die in Afghanistan. It was not so much a matter of will I die, so much as I'm currently dying. It's interesting, your body, your brain is acutely aware when something really bad is happening. And it's more matter of fact than anything else. As I'm preparing to die, I remember just wishing that my wife and I had started a family before I deployed, because we actually kind of pushed it off and said, let's get through a deployment, and then, when you come back, we can think about having kids. And so I just was like, man, I wish I had started a family. And then I passed out thinking that would be the end. But my medic was an all-star. He ran over, and while I'm laying there, was able to stop the bleed. My interpreter laid over me and protected me because we're still in the middle of a gunfight. I was worthless. My teammates were able to call in airstrikes and call in medical support, and we were able to hightail our way out of there, and I was saved thanks entirely to my team. The most popular question is, how did I become inspired to go from all that to telling scary stories on the internet? It's been a bit of a journey. I got medically retired in 2017, and I co-founded and was the CEO of a charity called Elite Meet, which is this organization that helps Navy SEALs and other elite special operators get jobs in the private sector. It was built in large part to help me get a job. Ironically, my job became running a service that helps people get jobs. But I did that for a few years. I'm still on the board of Elite Meet. I also co-founded a kind of the opposite of Elite Meet. It's called Operators Association, and it helps aspiring special operators. It's like a mentorship platform for them. It's on Patreon, and we help them become special operators. So kind of hitting on both ends of the spectrum, and I'm still a partner over there. And so while I was building those two companies, I saw a need to really leverage social media to get the word out about your companies and what you're doing. That's what everybody does. And so my go-to was sharing my experience as a Navy SEAL and talking about my Navy SEAL experience and drawing people onto my pages that way, and then kind of funneling them to my other business ventures that are both military related. But it was really difficult because the topics I was talking about, it draws a lot of negativity from the active duty community that are in the SEAL teams. They don't necessarily like it when people like me are talking, about being a Navy SEAL and all the things I've done, because it comes off as very self-centered and very like, look at me, look how great I am. And I'm not acting like I wasn't doing that in my posts, but it's a bad look, and I started getting a lot of negativity from some people in the community. I was mad about it, and I felt betrayed, but ultimately, I made my own decisions. I chose to do what I was doing and decided that all I can do is maybe try to change my content style and focus on something else. I also just felt like I was running out of stories to tell, and so for a lot of reasons, I didn't want to be doing what I was doing, which was a lot of Navy SEAL-centered content. And on a whim, I posted a story on TikTok about the Dyatlov Pass incident. These Russian hikers go off into the wilderness, get lost, and everybody speculates that like some monster killed them or something. I'm interested in this. I've always been interested in spooky, mysterious stuff. I find myself researching that on my own. So I'm just interested in this. And so like out of left field, I'm doing like Navy SEAL content, Navy SEAL content, Navy SEAL content. Dyatlov Pass, Russian hikers go missing in the mountains in the 1950s. But it went viral on TikTok. So I was like, that's great, I'll do another one. And I started posting some stories, more and more stories about like scary stuff and mysterious unsolved mysteries. And it really took off, I think in part because I'm really, really passionate about telling stories, one, but specifically I'm really interested in strange, dark, and mysterious content because I had either a really intense sleep paralysis story or a paranormal one, or maybe some combination, but you can check it out. It's one of my more popular videos on my YouTube channel. It's just what I saw in my room still haunts me. My TikTok really blew up. It's at 6.6 million followers now, which is just mind-blowing to me. And I transitioned over to YouTube so that I can make this a career. I can actually go full-time on YouTube, and that's what I've been doing now for the past 2 months. A lot of people ask, what is it like to be a YouTuber? It's unbelievable how much time goes into this. I love doing it, so this is not me complaining, it's the opposite, but all I think about is YouTube. That is all I think about. I wake up, I'm on YouTube. I'm watching YouTube, I'm thinking about YouTube, I'm watching tutorials on how to be a better speaker, how to be a better YouTuber, and then I'm pouring into documents that I've been saving and articles I'm supposed to read, and every day I'm probably spending I don't know, 5 hours of research for that day's video, even if I already know it. I'll spend 5 hours just researching it and internalizing the story. I spend about an hour to maybe even an hour and a half actually filming it. I do a single take on my iPhone. I film everything on my iPhone. I don't have a script. Now, let me be clear here. I do write a script, but the best way to tell a story, in my opinion, is to be the story. Be in the story. And you can't do that if you're reciting a script. And so I like internalize the story. That's why it takes me so many hours to really get ready for a story. I need to really feel like I'm in it. And so the script serves as more like a guide, but I'll look at a script, I'll think about it, and then I'll tell the story. So I would say for any video, it takes about 6 to 7 hours just from, okay, I have the idea, research it, internalize it, shoot it, and then I spend another 2 hours at night doing the rough cut edit, not even the full edit. I kick it to my amazing editor. Shout out to Wes J. Adams. He's my guy. Shout out to you, Wes. He takes the rough cut and he puts in the imagery and he makes it much sexier, and then we upload it the next day. And since I'm posting 5 days a week, we have to be in a schedule where we're always a couple posts ahead. So pretty much there is no off time, with the exception of maybe Saturday. But it's a really, I feel like I'm in such a privileged position. I love doing this. I'm proud of what I'm doing, and it's just so much fun to do something that I so fundamentally enjoy doing. So a couple fun facts about me. I use little tech decks, little hand skateboards. I have like little ramps and stuff. I'll literally sit here and like flip around with my tech deck the whole time to like jog my creative mind. Also, on the notion of little skateboards, I was world ranked in the game Skate. It's a video game on PlayStation 3. Skate 1 and Skate 2, I was literally in the top 30. It's a game where you would like do a trick and then somebody else tries to match your trick. If they can't match it, they get a letter until they spell out SKATE and then they lose. I was playing this all the time when I was in college, and I didn't even know I was so good at it. And I was just beating everybody, and I started getting all these notifications from people being like, dude, you're not even that good. Like, my brother played you last night. You weren't even that good, man. I don't know how you're like world ranked. And I went to the leaderboard, and there I was. So, but when I do have some spare time, I do like gaming. I mostly just play offline. You know, I'm 31, not like big into online gaming. Didn't really grow up with it. But I'll play like sports games. Like, I love MLB The Show, huge baseball fan. But like, I don't really play the game. I just like edit the rosters and perfect everything about the rosters to where, like, you know, make sure their cleats are the right color and that their numbers are right and their stats are right. Like, it's almost like I'm taking a sports game and turning it into a life simulation. Like, I tell myself I'm going to edit these rosters and make them perfect, and then I'm going to play that game. And then I never get to playing it. I just edit the rosters and then don't play the game. I don't know if this was even an interesting episode or not, but I'm more than happy to do more of these, or maybe answer more specific questions, but I think I touched on the big ones. I do want to say that I am just so thankful that I even have this opportunity to have people that actually want to see my videos. It's an incredible thing. I feel so lucky. I really genuinely wish I could get to know every single one of you guys and gals, because this is just, it's a dream come true for me and my family, and I just can't thank you enough. So if you enjoyed today's video and you haven't done this already, please push the like button into the Grand Canyon, and also subscribe to this channel and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of my weekly uploads. If you want to get in touch with me, you can direct message me on Instagram or on Twitter, same username for both platforms. It's JohnBallin416. Also, I have a ton of content on TikTok. My username over there is Mr. Ballin. And if you have a story submission, please submit it to our subreddit. It's just called Mr. Ballin. It's linked below. I read that every day. If I intentionally use your story, I will credit you. So whether I see you on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Reddit, here on YouTube, or some combination, I'm just incredibly thankful. And until next time, guys, that's going to do it. See ya. All right, so I wanted to bring you into my dojo where I create all of my content. It's called the Mustard Room. It's pretty high speed, so don't be intimidated. It's my setup. It's nice and neat. This is where all the magic happens, right here. Here's my ring light. There's my little crappy tripod. Got my, I use tech decks when I'm trying to become more creative. Yes, this is my setup right here.